7 crows. Once upon a time, far away amid high mountains, there was a green valley. This valley was gracefully crossed by a clear stream. On the shore of this very stream, a woodsman had built his sturdy stone house. The woodsman was married, and together, he and his wife had a family consisting of 7 sons and 1 daughter. The woodsman often had to embark on journeys from his home to his place of work. This meant that his wife was left with the formidable task of raising their children all alone, which she found to be a hard time. In terms of their children's disposition, their daughter caused her no trouble at all, as she was inherently kind, pretty, and helpful. However, her 7 sons were the source of her considerable problems, because they were consistently rude, disobedient, and quarrelsome. They harbored no respect for their mother, a fact that greatly worried her. When their husband, the woodsman, returned home tired after a week's hard work, the poor wife found herself unable to bring herself to tell him about their son's mischievous behavior. Her reason for this silence was her desire not to worry him further, as she thought he was so tired and she must not disturb him with such petty things. Therefore, the woman kept her sorrow entirely to herself. She did not realize that by doing so, her sons would only get worse and worse. In fact, when their father was not home to administer punishment, the boys continuously took advantage of the situation, which only served to make things continue to get worse. Their sister suffered the most from her brother's actions, despite the fact that she loved her brothers, even though they were wicked. She held a special love for her mother, especially being the youngest. Yet, none of her brothers paid any attention to her reprimands. One fateful day, the 7 boys became embroiled in the biggest trouble yet. In the nearby woods, there grew a dangerous grass known to cause animals' stomachs to swell. The woodsman had always explicitly told his sons to ensure that their goats never ate any of this perilous grass. However, the cruel boys deliberately filled a bag with this very grass and then mixed it in with the animals' food. They maliciously anticipated seeing their goats swell up and bloat instead of bleeding. Later on, the goats and the cow tragically fell ill. Their bellies swelled, and they were unable to stand up. The mother, witnessing this distressing sight, cried out in despair, lamenting that they would no longer have any milk or be able to make any cheese, questioning how they would then survive. The sons, however, laughed maliciously at the sight, utterly failing to realize the evil they had done. It was at the height of her desperation that the woman cried out, "I wish you were crows rather than sons of mine." As soon as she uttered these words, a mysterious cloud suddenly overshadowed the sun, and the air became very chilly. In an instant, the boys transformed into 7 big crows that flew away, croaking. The woman was so profoundly frightened and felt such great regret that she fainted. When the father returned from work the day after, he discovered the truth and was very upset. Nevertheless, he tried to comfort his wife, telling her it was not her fault, and that their sons were nasty, meaning she was bound to lose her cool. Despite his words, the house was filled with profound sadness and despair. A long time passed after this tragic event, and the little girl grew older. She still vividly remembered her brothers and rarely smiled. One day, she approached her mother and asked for permission to go and look for them. Her mother initially refused, expressing her fear of losing her daughter too. But the daughter insisted, stating she felt compelled to go and that she felt they were expecting her. She pleaded with her mother to let her go and give her blessing. The mother, unable to resist her daughter's earnest pleas, finally consented, and the little girl left home with a small bundle of provisions. She walked for 2 days through the dense woods, climbing steadily towards the mountains. Her provisions began to run out pretty soon, and eventually, she had no more food left. Her clothes became torn, and she felt cold and tired. On the 3rd day, at dawn, she spotted a strange little cottage amidst the mist. She wondered who must live there. Despite its gloomy and uninviting appearance, something powerfully attracted her to the house. Once she was inside the house, she discovered a small table with 7 bowls on it, and her heart beat very fast with anticipation, suggesting she might have found what she was looking for. She continued further and saw a large pot full of wheat and oats on the fire. Being very hungry, she poured a bit of food into one of the bowls and ate it avidly. Then, she went upstairs and found a little bedroom containing 7 little beds, each adorned with a different colored blanket. As she recognized the colors, tears welled up in her eyes, realizing she had finally found her brothers. Exhausted by the arduous trip and the commotion of her discovery, the little girl laid down on one of the beds and fell asleep, intending to wait for them there. Later on, 7 chattering crows pushed open the front door and sat around the kitchen table. They noticed that someone had eaten some of their soup. They pondered who would ever come up to such a remote place, expressing their belief that they were condemned to be alone on these mountains forever, and that nobody would ever come to look for them. When they finished eating, the crows pulled on their sleeping caps, went upstairs, and found the little girl in one of their beds. One of the crows, after delicately touching her braid with his beak, exclaimed that this was their sister. All the crows repeated, "Our sister, our sister, our sister." At that very moment, the little girl opened her eyes. Initially, when she saw herself surrounded by the big and ugly birds, she was frightened. However, from one of the ugly beaks, a kind voice spoke, asking, "Are you our sister?" The little girl immediately got up and opened her arms, declaring, "My brothers, I found you. I found you. We're together again at last." The 7 crows looked at her sadly, seemingly worried that she might be frightened or disgusted by their appearance. But the girl hugged every one of them, stating, "I love you very much, and even if you've turned into crows, you're still my brothers." When they heard these heartfelt words, the crows were deeply moved and began to cry. The sister, comforting them, urged them not to cry and inquired if they missed home and family, asking if they would like to come back home with her. The crows eagerly expressed their strong desire to return, stating that they very much regretted their evil ways. However, they questioned how they could show themselves to their parents in their current form. The little girl reassured them that their mother would accept them all the same, emphasizing her certainty of it. She told them their mother kept crying and thinking of them, in spite of what they had done. She reiterated that their mother had not yet forgiven herself for the curse. The little girl insisted that her brothers come back, assuring them their mother would be most happy to see them all. Through her persistent pleas, she convinced her brothers to come home with her. The crows agreed, saying, "Okay then, we shall all go home. Come on, let's go." As she began to walk down the mountain, the youngest brother interjected, saying there was no need to walk back up and down the mountain, as they would fly there and carry her. He then suggested, "Wait a minute, let's bring Mother all the sparkling stones we found as a present." He went in and brought back bags full of beautiful stones. He explained that while they might be beautiful, they might also be precious, noting that crows cannot help themselves and take anything that sparkles. He pointed out that one stone sparkled more than the rest, suggesting it might be a diamond. They finally departed, and the world looked very different from above. At first, the little girl was scared, fearing she would fall. But the crows reassured her, saying, "Don't worry, little sister, we won't let you fall." The 7 crows held her firmly and flew safely. When they saw the familiar valley, the clear stream, and the little house where they were born, they noticed the courtyard was deserted. When they landed, the little girl told her brothers to wait there while she went to call their mother and surprise her. She silently went into the kitchen and saw the poor woman leaning on the table and weeping. The girl hugged and kissed her, saying, "Mother, I'm back, and I have a big surprise for you." The poor woman was so happy and moved that she didn't know whether to laugh or cry, having thought she had lost her daughter forever. The girl wiped her mother's tears and brought her to the courtyard. In the courtyard, the mother found the crows and cried out, "My poor sons, I missed you so much. I am so sorry to have uttered that curse. A mother should never say such things against her children." The crows responded, "No, Mother, we deserved it. We regret all we have done, we very much regret our wickedness." As they were all crying over the past, with their family together again, suddenly another miracle occurred. The 7 brothers became boys again. The father, who had heard voices, ran out of the house. He expressed his joy, crying, "God, I can see my children again." The sons, in turn, apologized repeatedly, "Father, we are so sorry." He cried as he hugged his sons and his daughter. The years passed, and the boys became more and more responsible. The stones the crows had brought to their mother turned out to be precious after all. This treasure allowed the family to live a better life. Analysis. This poignant narrative, The 7 Crows, delves into profound themes of family, consequence, forgiveness, and transformation. The story establishes a clear contrast between the children, the solitary, kind daughter and her 7 disobedient, quarrelsome brothers. The mother's burden is immediately palpable, exacerbated by her inability to confide in her husband, a decision that inadvertently allows her son's wickedness to escalate. This highlights the detrimental impact of unspoken sorrow and unchecked negative behavior within a family unit. The brothers' cruel act of intentionally feeding dangerous grass to the animals marks the turning point, demonstrating their complete lack of empathy and foresight. This malicious mischief directly leads to the mother's desperate curse, an outburst born of profound despair rather than true malice. Her immediate regret and subsequent fainting underscore the impulsive nature of her words and the deep love she still held for her sons, despite their faults. The transformation into crows serves as a powerful symbol of the consequences of their actions, visually representing their fallen state and their isolation. The family's subsequent despair, particularly the daughter's enduring sadness and her quiet determination, showcases the lasting pain of separation and the strength of familial bonds. The daughter's arduous journey to find her brothers is a testament to her unwavering love and hope. Her perseverance through hardship, lack of food, torn clothes, and fatigue emphasizes the depth of her commitment. The discovery of the cottage with its 7 bowls and beds acts as a powerful sign, building suspense and hope that culminates in her emotional reunion with her transformed brothers. The crow's initial sadness and self-pity about being alone further highlight their regret and longing for their past lives. The sister's immediate acceptance and unconditional love for her brothers, even in their altered state, are crucial. Her words, "Even if you've turned into crows, you're still my brothers," are the catalyst for their emotional healing and a pivotal moment. This unconditional love softens their hearts and allows them to express their remorse and desire to return home. The mother's continued grief and guilt over her curse further emphasize the strength of a mother's love and the reciprocal nature of forgiveness. The journey home, particularly the crows carrying their sister, symbolizes their newfound responsibility and unity. The collection of sparkling stones by the youngest brother not only provides a clever narrative device for their return journey but also sets up the practical resolution for the family's future. The ultimate miracle of the brothers' transformation back into boys represents redemption and the restoration of familial harmony. Their sincere apologies to their father signify their newfound maturity and understanding of their past misdeeds. The precious stones serving as a treasure that improves their family's life symbolizes that even from their mistakes and their time as crows, something valuable and positive emerged, allowing for a better future. The story ultimately conveys a message of hope, the power of a sister's unwavering love, the possibility of redemption, and the enduring strength of family bonds even in the face of adversity and past transgressions.